Today I just want to talk about the trends, or rather not trends per se, but what I'm observing that is shifting and changing in the life coaching space. And I want to start with this because I am recording this video on the 23rd of January, and it has been about 2 weeks, around 10, maybe 11 days of me onboarding new clients that I'm welcoming for 2026. Yes, I'm still speaking to clients that I had from last year, but at the beginning of the year, I do a whole intake of new people who want to work with me. And as I've mentioned before, people work with me either for 3 months, 6 months, or for a year. So as I'm onboarding these new people with what I refer to as opening session, it's a 90-minute long where we get better acquainted. I get to know you. The stage is really yours because, the sessions that will follow will be based on the first session. But here's what I'm noticing, and it got me thinking about how coaching, particularly life coaching, maybe even executive coaching and career coaching and relationship and other specific coachings are changing. And it got me thinking about what people actually are needing. And so it's not a trend per se, it's more an observation from my side based on the people that I'm seeing, not only these ones actually, from also last year. And what I'm noticing is that people no longer want to do better. I want to reach my goal. I want to overcome this obstacle. I want to have received this and this by that, or I want to heal a specific thing. I'm struggling with anger, so I want you to help me with coping mechanisms to manage my anger, stress management. They no longer want those individualistic, specific things, which therapy takes care of. I mean, for example, therapy takes care of the clinical side of things, the post-traumatic stress kind of things, and they can help you, especially occupational therapy, which is very, very good at helping you with certain tools to manage certain things. Like if you have anger issues, if you struggle with anxiety, chronic anxiety, if you struggle with depression, so occupational therapy and certain other clinical therapies help with that. I am noticing that in as much as someone might be seeing a therapist, because one of the clients I'm seeing, one of the new ones, is seeing a therapist, but for whatever reason, they felt like they need a little bit more. So it's almost as though people are saying, yeah, I see this is working. I have this coping mechanism. I have these coping tools. I'm taking this medication, but I need a little bit more. It's almost like a very deep, ancient inquiry of who am I becoming, what am I really doing here? And this is where the coaching, life coaching, psycho-spiritual coaching that I'm seeing a lot of people in my circle, a lot of coaches in my circle are doing the duality of obviously a little bit of counseling, a little bit of therapy, a little bit of healing work, but it is holistic work that we are now doing. And it is not just us as coaches, it is also just human beings needing a little bit more than motivation. Because executive coaching, for an example, and career coaching are usually what I refer to, or I put them in the category of motivation, inspiration coaching. So what is happening is that there's now this move from performance. I want to do better. I want to achieve this. I want to overcome this, to I want more meaning in my life, to questions like, why is it that even with the supposed or external success, why is it that I'm still feeling misaligned? And this is what I've been observing this past 2 weeks as I was onboarding these new people. And I also happened to have a conversation with a fellow coach who is also onboarding, and we're like sort of comparing notes. And there seems to be a deep, deep hunger for more meaning. And one of the clients I'm seeing, one of the new ones, is in leadership, and she has had a career coach that was supplied obviously via the company. And because she's in leadership, she has an executive coach, but she still wanted to have some coaching work with me. It's almost like there is this deeper thing that she can't name that is making her feel misaligned or a little bit hollow, something like an unnamed grief of some sort, some deep, deep emotional exhaustion that she's not sure where it comes from. some disconnection. I'm just, if you see my eyes looking down, I'm looking at my nose. Some emotional, and like she's feeling like there's some disconnection from meaning. I mean, one of them said something that I will never ever forget because I could see that picture. She says, Lebo, these days, I don't know if it's just me, but these days, every time I open my purse and I see cash, I happen to have had cash. When I look at it, I can see it's money and I understand money, but it feels like it's paper. It looks like it has no value, it has no meaning, and I don't know what is happening. And I mean, that is a classical case of someone who's on some sort of a threshold, someone who's needing a larger meaning beyond the script that we were all given, the script which is go to school, go to tertiary, get a job, stay there for as long as possible, climb the corporate ladder, buy a house, you know the script, right? And a lot of people who've done all that right are mostly the ones who I'm finding that are looking for far more than just executive coaching, far more than just motivation, far more than surface level clinical therapy. They're looking for more and deeper, and they want to be seen, they want to be witnessed to. They're looking for a space where they can really just figure it all out. So that script, for whatever reason, is like it's like there's a quiet sense of an old way of doing things creeping in and no longer working for a lot of people, particular those of you who have done everything correctly, followed the script to the T. There's a hollowness that people are finding themselves in, and there aren't enough spaces to name that. And that is where life coaching, psycho-spiritual coaching like me fill in that gap. It is an evolution, almost a shift, a growth of the work that we do ourselves. And I've also noticed that that is happening also in the workspace. And I'll give you another example. Early in the year, I think the first week of January, I had a Zoom meeting with a company that shall not be named. And they wanted me to come in and have a wellness day. There's a wellness week, you people who do wellness. And I promise you, I'm going to be doing a separate video, a specific video about my problem with how the workplace approaches wellness and mental health. And I'm not saying mental health is not a thing. I know there's a thing called mental health, and it talks around clinical things, body bipolar, body depression, real things. But in the workplace, naming it mental health is just a polite way of trying to not name things that truly matter. It's very lazy. So anyway, she was on Zoom with me and a colleague, and they were sharing with me that the company is serious about mental health this year, and they want to do this, they want to do that. And they thinking that, I could help, I can maybe give a workshop, have a day or a few hours of a workshop around mental health. And I pushed back and I was like, what do you mean by mental health? And they mumbled words, you can hear words coming out, beautiful words, nice words, but there was nothing tangible that they were not saying. In other words, they were not saying that, we have noticed in 2025 that a lot of our middle managers are extremely disengaged, or our productivity has just slowed down almost to a halt. And there seems to be burnout, or there seems to be a fatigue. There's nothing specific that they're telling me. They're just saying mental health. And so, me being me, I gently and politely unpacked why I feel like they should be more specific. And our conversation, guys, turned from surface, yes, I'll send you a quote, or I'll send you a proposal. Here's my price. Give me the money. Then I go and do a workshop that means nothing. Our conversation moved from that to me helping them craft something that is a little bit more dense, a little bit more deep and nuanced, and that is a little bit long, that requires a lot more from them than just a workshop where we can tick a box that we took care of that. And luckily, she's senior enough, very, very senior, reporting to the CEO, to can escalate so that it is not a 1 day, 1 week. It's more longer term, and that's what I am crafting for them. So yeah, their immediate response to my probing and then opening up and sharing their issues as managers, as senior people in leadership, made it for a completely different conversation, such that they are going to relook at how they appoint coaches for their managers, for their senior managers, and so on. Obviously, with the agreement of the person that they need coaching for, which is another topic for another day or topic for another video, where I want to share why is it difficult for coaches like us to work with people in corporate who the company is paying for that coaching. Why is it that they don't show up? Why do they become the worst clients for me? And I know if you're a coach somewhere and you've been given people to coach from corporate, I know you are laughing with me because you know why. And for those who don't know, I will let you in on the joke, and I'll unpack it for you in a different video. But anyway, what I wanted to say really in this video is that there is much, much more needed to be done by coaches, because it looks like there's a signal from humans, from people, to be needing a little bit more than I want to overcome this obstacle. I want to achieve this. I want to reach this goal. The surface things are great, but it feels as though people have evolved. And also another thing I've noticed is that my intake this year is a little bit more than the previous years, which is a signal in its own that people are ready. People are ready to go there. People are ready to go deeper. People are ready to grow. People are ready to heal. People are tired of numbing the things that need to be dealt with and faced. And also a numbing device, whatever you numb with, whether it's food, it's alcohol, it's whatever, it's social media, anything that numbs reaches its expiration, it wears out. I mean, if you numb with alcohol, you'll drink your wine or two or three, you'll get all intoxicated and all good, but it wears out. it really, really wears out. And then you sleep and you wake up with a massive headache and a hangover, and the problem is still there. And you have done absolutely nothing except for messing up your body, your sleep, your liver, and so on. So anything that you use to numb, anything you use to press down the pain, the wounding, the issues that need to be seen, does wear off. And I feel like 2026 is beginning to do that. Even the inquiries themselves, because 100 people can inquire, but you will end up with maybe 12 people who take up your services or your product. I mean, that's just the law of how sales work, the funneling of it all. So I have no problem with that. But what I'm trying to say is that I've received a lot more inquiries for my coaching services than I have ever, which is for me a signal on its own. So if you're sitting out there and you're thinking coaching is saturated, maybe you've always wanted to be a coach and you think it's saturated, please do not be fooled. You are needed now more than ever. We need more coaches. There is a lot of work, particularly for us South Africans. We are wounded men. South African Black people, South Africans as a whole, because we are a nation of many races. When I say Black people, it's because that's who I identify with. But South African Black people, there is a lot of healing that we need to do. We have a massively traumatic history. We come from single-led households, single mother homes. We are a fatherless bunch of people. We are a fatherless nation, the Black South Africans. I don't know, I stand to be corrected, but I feel like, I think, and I read somewhere, but correct me on the comments if I'm wrong, that South Africa has more single women, single mother-led homes than the rest of Africa. And I'm talking Black South Africans for that matter. So we are fatherless, which means we are we don't have a masculine leadership. And once again, masculinity is energy as well. And I have touched on those videos, but masculinity is represented by the men. And our men are in trouble. Our men are not stepping up for deeper reasons. It's not surface. These things are very complex. So there is a need for more coaches. There is a need for more teachings like this. And I invite you, if you're sitting there and have been thinking about stepping up into coaching, step up. And don't worry about credentials or being accredited by this institution and that institution. You can always get those accreditations and belong to those bodies if that is important to you, or if you want to focus in the workspace, which those will be needed. But don't let that stop you. If you've done some basic coaching course with some institution, use that and allow your inner coach to actually help people. Because I always believe that you are a lawyer before you are a lawyer, you're a doctor before you're a doctor, you're a coach before you're a coach, which means it is part of a calling. Yes, I know there are coaches who are not coaches and that doctors who are not supposed to be there in the first place. But if you feel deep inside that you are a coach, step up. It's a new year. You can do it part-time, you can do it for free to start, but step into the work, because umsebenzi mningi, siyandinga. It can't just be a handful of life coaches. So yes, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot for us. We have our history alone is enough to get us to go for healing or for some form of psycho-spiritual coaching. There's socio-economic pressures, of course. There's a socio-political context. There's the politics of the country. There's the 30 plus years after democracy that no one can really see. So there's a lot underneath that is impacting us as a collective and definitely at an individual level. So yeah, please, guys, if you are supposed to be a coach, please be a coach. So we can expand on the work. Let me see if there's anything else on my notes that I want to touch on before I shut it down. So yeah, but just know that when you step into this coaching and you mean it and you're stepping in deeply, you are going to be required, you're going to be stretched so much. You're going to not be required to just have a basket of tools only. Your psychological literacy needs to increase. You need to learn from other teachers. You need to read quite a bit. You need to mature emotionally. Deep emotional maturity is required from coaches, spiritual depth, because you are hardly going to be talking to a person. You are talking to their ancestors, you're talking to their spirit, their astral body. Everything comes to session. So you need to be equipped for that. You need to understand contextual history. You need to understand patterns. You need to understand where they come from, what kind of lineage do they come from, so you can actually better help them, especially when you are going to be working with leaders, people who are high functioning professionals, people who seek more meaning than to achieve a particular goal, than to just succeed, or than to just make money. So you as a coach are going to be, a lot is going to be asked of you. And I hope you take up the call so we can do this work together. And that, my friends, is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours. I'll see you in the next video.